again. I hadn't been able to run for 2 years. I had a posterior tibial tendon transplant in my right foot. It was a pretty major surgery. I had to learn to walk again. This went back to an injury at age 19 when I was doing gymnastics. But at 19, you're on crutches for 2 weeks. Then you're healed. 30 years later, the tendon falls apart. All I wanted to do was lose the 20 pounds I had gained during my recuperation from the surgery. So I'm running, and I'm excited, and I'm wearing new tennis shoes. It feels so good, and I'm thinking to myself, maybe I can do the whole mile. I'm at a little track no one goes to. It's not very well maintained. I step in a rut. Something goes wrong. I limp off the track to my car and I drive home. And then I limp in the back door. Charlene, my wife, sees me and she goes, "What did you do?" I limp into the den. I slip into the chair and I put my foot on the footstool. And like Lou Ferrigno in Bill Bixby's Clothing, things in the shoe are pretty tight as I try to extract the foot. She sits down and I question, what have I done? That accident was the start of a chain of events that included divine intervention and wound up saving my wife's life. Charlene comes into the den and sits down after handing me the ice pack. She's very depressed. We were due to fly out Friday. This was Monday. To San Diego. It was to be a working vacation. My employer said that I should go to the SIGGRAPH Animation Festival in San Diego. Since it's a big rollout of animation and video editing software, some of which I teach. And it's always good to get the jump on what's coming out new, the upgrades and the new programs, so I can share the information with my students and also be prepared for the changes myself. Charlene said she was going with me. We hadn't had a vacation in a long time, and we hadn't been to Southern California in years and years. She used to live out there long ago. So she was excited about the trip, and that was the only thing raising her spirits, because she was so depressed about her physical ailment and the mystery behind it. She was experiencing shortness of breath and rapid heartbeat. That was ludicrous. She's a dancer. Tap, jazz, ballet, 2 to 3 times a week. Dance was her passion. She had to drop out. When she went to the doctor figured with the shortness of breath, maybe it was asthma, which has become epidemic. And breathing the pristine air of New Jersey probably added to it. He put her on a steroid inhaler. It didn't seem to do anything though. As springtime warmed up and went into summer, we started walking after dinner, which is something we like to do. But I would be halfway down the block, and I turned back, and Charlene was at the foot of the driveway, bent over trying to catch her breath. Something was very wrong. The doctor then told her to get an echocardiogram. Maybe you've seen one of these. Lee Majors took one on the $6 Million Man, an old show in the 70s. But when he ran on it, it flew apart and caught fire. That wasn't the case with Charlene. The doctor said after he analyzed the data, you could have moderate leakage in your left ventricle. We started to panic. Then he said, "Hold it. I want to see you in 2 weeks to do a comparative study." 2 weeks later, we were back. That data indicated that there was only minor leakage. The doctor scratched his head and he said, 60% of the population have this condition and they don't even know it. We were back where we started. No one knew what was wrong, and they couldn't seem to figure it out. The following day, Tuesday, I had to go to the primary care physician. Since it was my right foot that was hurt, Charlene had to show for me. I had to get scripts for x-rays, and that led to this receiving this highly fashionable boot, which I wore for 3 months, and even slept in for 2 months. It smells kind of funny now. Anyway, while we're standing there, the doc looks at Charlene and says, "Charlene, how you feeling?" Charlene went, Still not real good. Charlene, did we ever look at your blood? He said, you have to go this week. We have to try and find out what's wrong. So the Friday we were due to fly out to San Diego, we're at Quest Labs, and Charlene's donating some blood for study. We drove home, and on the way stopped and got a movie, had dinner, put the movie in, and sat in the den, gloomily watching it. It was Stephen King's The Dead Zone. The phone rang during the movie. I was on crutches. I couldn't get up and answer it. Charlene was on the couch exhausted. She didn't get the phone. Saturday, when I played the message back, all hell broke loose. It was the doctor saying, we're looking at your blood test, and you have to get yourself to the emergency room as soon as possible. You're dying. We jumped in the car and we drove to the emergency room to find out what was going on. Every doctor on staff for that particular shift met Charlene at the door. They were expecting her. She had a hemoglobin level of 4.5. They start to give you a transfusion when it falls to 10. Normal people run about 13 or 14. There was so little oxygen in Charlene's blood, she was a medical enigma. They had never seen anybody walking and talking with a 4.5 level. When she said she had to go home to get pajamas and a toothbrush, they freaked. They made her sign a waiver. We later found out that the doctors actually thought she would die before she was able to return. But she got her things, went back to emergency. They immediately started a transfusion. Around 2:30 a.m. Sunday morning, the last drop of the second bag went into her. It was then I started to see color come back into her face. So many months she had this sallow, this yellowish tint, and I would point it out, and she would change her makeup. They released her Monday evening, and wanted to monitor her once a week. The first week, she was up to 10. The second week, she was up to 13. Her body was responding beautifully. More than one doctor told us that if she had gone on that San Diego trip, it would have killed her. I said to Charlene, let's go back to the track. I want to see that rut that I stepped in. We drove back and I hobbled on crutches to where I had fallen. I can only deduce that an angel pushed me down. There was no rut to be found anywhere.